Well, when I graduated from school, I had absolutely no idea I'd ever be in any galleries. I love fine art, and there's many, people from pop art, Rauschenberg, Jasper Johns, Warhol, people like Barbara Kruger, Robbie Canal, who's a poster artist, people who did fine art, but also had some sort of resonance in pop culture outside the art world. A lot of people that I dug, but I just never thought I'd achieve that. I thought the closest thing that I could do would be to maybe work within street art, streetwear, music. I was printing things for bands and getting to put, a little bit of my style onto what I was doing for someone else. And all those things, I think are very valid pursuits to live creatively, but I just never thought I would be taken seriously as a fine artist. And in fact, I think if I had even considered that as an aspiration, I would have been paralyzed because, I didn't think anything I was doing was worthy of that label. And, sometimes I still cringe at the idea of like, I'm a fine artist, it's just like, sounds so pretentious, but anyway, when you see a lot of the crap out there, you're like, all right, fine, I might as well be. But for me, my goal coming out of school was because I'd fallen in love with screen printing as the medium to create my own work. I wanted to have screen printing equipment once I graduated, and you have the luxury of having it in your art school, but then once you're out of school, you can't get back into the school's facilities. So I decided I would be a professional screen printer, and I had a studio with a mini ramp in it, and bands practiced across the hall, and there was a little alternative gallery down the street, and I thought it was going to be like Warhol's factory. I'd have the Velvet Underground and Mick Jagger stopping by, and it was a very utopian idea, and it would have been utopian except that I was going really far into debt and was just living at below the poverty level, and at one point I felt like I was maybe going to give up on art altogether. And because I was so frustrated after about 4 years of losing money and working really hard. But then I just decided, to quote the mighty Zeppelin, "The rivers may change their course, they'll always reach the sea." If you have that mindset, I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to keep this dream alive, the inside-outside strategy. So I became a graphic designer. And that was a pretty bold aspiration, considering I didn't know how to use a computer or anything. I was making all my graphics. I was using Kinko's as my lab. I had bribed a bunch of the late night guys with T-shirts.
I saw a photo of you. You were laying on the floor with huge tile pieces.
Yeah. I mean, really, when Kinko's had the motto, "Kinko's your copy center," I took that very literally. I had figured out how to rig the machines to give out free copies with a paper clip if I didn't have a Shepard Fairey friendly employee that night. But I made all my art with just camera ready pen and ink and an X-Acto and Xerox and Sharpie, and that was it. And then I would make transparencies and shoot my screens. And so I moved out to California to work with a friend in the skateboard industry, and he started to teach me how to use the computer, and we started a small design business, and that allowed me to continue to print my posters at night and disseminate my work and print stickers and have a very small paycheck, but it allowed me to keep going. And eventually my posters started to get some traction. I started to get some gallery shows. I'd been bombing New York really hard from about 90 to 96. Bombing is, it's the slang for putting posters and stickers and stencils up. You have to be sensitive about what you say post 9/11. So, yes. If this room is bugged, yeah. But anyway, so I had started to create some resonance for my work, and it was being discussed in some magazines and articles here and there, but it hadn't translated into any demand for posters or art shows or anything for at least, it took at least 5 years of you know, sort of a build-up of buzz, of, you know, underground chatter, like, what's that thing? I've seen that in Boston, I've seen that in New York, I've seen it in San Francisco, seen it in DC. You said, you know, you saw stuff in London back then.
Yeah, I just need to say, you know, this is amazing. We're talking about a measly 15, 20 years ago, and, you know, I met Shepard in '93, and I had seen some of his stickers for a year or two before that. And when I went to London in '97, I remember I went to see the New Sensations show. Pieces of Damien Hirst are in this giant, beautiful space. And I walk outside and I see Shepard's sticker behind a stop sign, and I'm more excited about seeing that in London than I was about some of this work. And that's 4 or 5 years later. And in terms of the way things evolved, you know,